Keeping the move alive on the right into the 6-yard area where Lukic got a touch, but the finishing touch came from Emil Smith-Rowe. A stooping header from a few yards out. Leicester certainly weren't out of it, and that goal seemed to galvanise them, but they were killed off 20 minutes from time when Adama fired home a right-footed sweet volley from a Jimenez cross when he was left in space. And despite the efforts from the Leicester players, they couldn't quite force themselves back into a game. But they have lost here at King Power Stadium. The final score is Leicester City 0, Fulham 2.
Well, another disappointing afternoon here at King Power Stadium for the Foxes. Thanks to John there on commentary. I'm Dan Bates. Simon Grayson and Matt Elliott will join me in the studio as we look to dissect what we've just seen. Jerry Taggart will remain in his commentary position. Simon, I'm going to sadly start with you. Not good, really, that second half.
No, look, we spoke at half-time about the importance of starting the second half on the front foot, being positive, try and get the first goal. And look, that went out the window within the first few minutes of Fulham getting the goal that they did, and then it was a real struggle, really. Not many opportunities. Fulham, every time they got the ball, looked like they could break quickly on the counter-attack, and they've got some really good players in that top end of the pitch, and Pearce and Traore coming on at half-time. But there was a lot of poor decision-making. There was a lot of poor passages as a player, really. I'm talking about passes should have been 10-yard pass and it became a 60-yard pass, hopeful ball up to Jamie Vardy. He's never going to win too many headers, but it was isolated as well. The second half was just sort of a non-starter, really, and hugely disappointing. We didn't want it to go like the second half from Wednesday night against Palace, and it certainly ended up like that.
Yeah, you have to say it was pretty reminiscent of the game against Crystal Palace, wasn't it? Similar scoreline, same outcome. I think it was more comprehensive today, Fulham, than Palace were, more convincing, which is sad to say, to be honest. You know, you think coming into these two games, and some people saying, I don't necessarily agree, but like must-win games. Certainly very important to get something out of both of them, and Leicester haven't been able to do so, and it's disappointing. It's lots of things, isn't it, for the supporters, players, everyone concerned, that to come up short again, almost like a replica of Wednesday night. But yeah, we were hoping maybe that they could. I think they probably played better in the first half against Palace than they did against Fulham tonight, but you're hoping that they could go and learn from whatever it was on Wednesday night that stopped them playing in the second half. They could redeem themselves or change that, and the evidence shows you that they weren't able to do that, really. And some, what should we call that, defending for the first goal? Well, bordering on scandalous, to be fair, some of it. Collectively, I think so. You know, when you're in that, we said about making your own luck at half time, or you know, sometimes you sort of, I know confidence is low, but sometimes you deserve what comes your way when you're not doing what the basics of what you should be doing.
I think one of the key stats that we just seen there was that Fulham won twice as many tackles as Leicester City, and that's not what the supporters want to see. They want to see your team fighting, and if you're going to lose, go down fighting. And they were first to every second ball. Leicester played really the second half like a team that were reactive rather than being proactive. They weren't on the front foot. They weren't anticipating second balls in their own box, in the midfield areas. And Fulham sort of were on that front foot and had the ascendancy and became worthy winners that second half.
Good side, Fulham.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Yeah. All round, play some nice football. They all, you can see they've been coached over a period of time as well, and they've got intelligent players who can work off each other and work with each other. And I was quite impressed with them. But you're right, Larry, to say that, you know, for all intents and purposes, a relegation scrap that Leicester are in, you'd like them to have a little bit more edge and nastiness to their game, more aggression. And then Fulham did look, Perhaps just the nature of some of the players anyway, but they did look a bit more physically strong, didn't they, and robust. But having said that, we're saying all this, and not that anyone from a Leicester point of view will try and defend that second half performance in particular, or the performances in the last 8 games. The results. They had 2 shots on goal, Fulham. Just saw that stat creep up as well, which surprised me.
Yeah.
They had plenty of shots, but only 2 on target.
They were ruthless, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's what it is. If you're ruthless in both boxes, you've got a better chance of winning a match.
Well,
if you're defending your own 18-yard box, clean sheets come along, and if you're ruthless and being positive in the final third, you're going to score goals, and that's what Fulham have done today. And that comes with confidence. I know that's a big part, but you can't keep using that as an excuse week in and week out. And we said before the game
confidence goes because you keep doing something wrong.
Yeah, and we said before the game that from Wednesday night, there's a few positives to take from that game that they could take into the game today. I'm not sure how many positives Ruud van Nistelrooy would see from today's performance for the next game.
Yeah, Jerry Taggart is still with us. He was on co-commentary for that game. Jerry, just off the back of what Simon and Matt were saying, it's hard after a defeat like that to see positives. I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there will be some to glean from it when Ruud van Nistelrooy and his team look back at it. But it was just overall a frustrating afternoon.
Yeah, I think both lads have covered it pretty well, to be honest, Dan. Obviously frustrating. I think I was trying to get my words out during the match about in these types of games, just like on Wednesday night, the games are won and lost by the team that invariably makes the least amount of mistakes. And unfortunately for Leicester in both these home games, they're the team that have made the mistakes, not doing their defensive duties properly, giving too much time and space to the opposition. And when you do that to quality players, then ultimately you pay the price. Fulham didn't afford us any of those mistakes in their box, but unfortunately, I mean, you wouldn't say they were glaring mistakes, but it's just all about not doing the basics, not doing what you were taught to do as a defender, and then ultimately the quality that Fulham have. You can tell that Fulham, like Crystal Palace, are very organised, well drilled, and in sync and in harmony with each other. And you don't really see that with Leicester to the level that is needed to survive in this league. Not at the moment, anyway.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Jerry, but again, it's just the frustration, I guess, when you look back at the goals that were conceded there, that they are avoidable, and a lot have been avoidable throughout this season. But you never know, that could turn around. And Matt made a good point. Two shots on target Fulham had today.
Yeah, but the first goal comes from a throw-in. And Raul Jimenez is given, he must have 15 yards to receive the ball, give it back to the thrower gives it back to him, he then takes a touch, he turns, he takes another touch, and then he crosses the ball. That takes all of about 4, 5, 6 seconds, and nobody is anywhere near him. You can't afford that type of room and space. You just cannot. Not on the edge or in the final third. And then obviously Wilson does well, keep it in, and then they pile players forward. When that cross comes in to Wilson, Lukic and obviously Smith Rowe are making runs forward, and they don't deal with that. But it all starts with allowing Raul Jimenez to get on the ball, get turned, get his head up, and pick a pass. And this is in the final third, Dan. It's not in their own final third, it's in Leicester's final third. Those are basic mistakes that are being made. Somebody has to get tight to Jimenez. Somebody has to make him play the way he's facing. Don't let him get turned, and don't let him get his head up and cross a ball in the final third. And that's the first goal. But yeah, I mean, I can't remember what else you said on the back of that.
That's good enough, Jerry.
Has he finished it? You kept stopping there, Tags. I was kept going to jump in. You started again.
Yeah,
so,
well, I'm done now. I'm done.
That's all right. You're off home now.
No. I'm still here for another 10 minutes or so. Five
No,
minutes.
listen, you're right to flag up the points that you did there. I mean, what's Jimenez doing out there? He's centre forward. He's out there in that position, and it's almost like, but that shows the flexibility in the movement that Fulham had. When the midfielders bomb forward into the box, when the ball comes across after Wilson, he's doing the role of Jimenez. He's spotted that, hasn't he? He's like, I'll fill that cab, I'll plug that hole.
But I think when you look at the Leicester defending in general, there doesn't seem to be a desire or a hunger to anticipate things.
No.
Like you centre back, obviously, and you'd anticipate that ball's coming in the final third. You're switching on then. You're on your front foot. But everything is just like the desire from the attackers is more than there is for the defenders.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's so many things wrong with that short passage of play and seeing that goal, and in such a vital period as well. You're like, you come out, you set your stall out, everyone's looking for an improvement and a bit of a charge. Quite the opposite occurred, and then loose defending, lack of communication. I mean, on first and second glance to me, it looked like Winks should have committed himself to go and close quicker.
Yeah,
but he's worried about a midfielder, and he's sort of looking around saying, "Well, Jimenez is not my man. I don't think I should go there. Oh yeah, I'll go in a minute," sort of thing. And it's too late. Commit and deal with the danger.
Yeah, there's not a desire to close the ball down and stop the cross coming in. There's no
do that, and let the others react behind you.
Yeah,
AB, and then listen, without picking fault in absolutely everything, but there's a lot of fault in that goal. Christensen's too far away from his man. He's oblivious to where Wilson is. Wilson looks it across. Is it Sandberg who gets in ahead, goal side just about, or nicks it past Vestergaard, who should be round covering, sweeping up, and then to exaggerate the point, Smith Rowe, who's not known for his
but he had a desire to get it there.
Duncan Ferguson-like aggression in the box aerially, gets the desire, gets goal side of Wout-Fass. Wout-Fass is hoping the ball doesn't go there. When it does, he's not in a position to do anything about it and doesn't switch on, and before you know it, 1-0, and you never looked like getting back in it after that.
Against it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, pre-match, Jerry, when we had Mads Hermansen in the studio, obviously you were listening to it, but a lot of the chat was about how Leicester have been in games and been unlucky. And even today, you think of that first half, the opportunities Leicester had, it could have been such a different game had they just had that stroke of luck and the ball deflects in, which hasn't really been going for them so far this season.
Yeah. No, listen, it's difficult. What is that? 7 on the bench now. It's difficult. Confidence plays a major factor, especially when you've lost 6 games on the bench and you're coming into this one. And maybe that has something to do with it. But on the flip side of that, Dan, the only way you're going to get yourself out of it is by, doing what Fulham have done to Leicester today, by committing to challenges, committing to getting goal-sided defenders, being stingy defensively, and that is the most important bit. It's a desire and a will, and to keep going even though things aren't going the way they are. And what does help is keeping clean sheets for a long period. When there's a game, and let's face it, there wasn't too much in the first half, was there, to speak about for either side in reality. But you don't come out at the beginning of the second half and fall to sleep for 20 seconds and then decide, well, we need to lift it. The first goal in any game of football is mightily, mightily important. And when things aren't going your well, you have to make sure as a defensive unit that you do not concede soft goals, and hopefully at the other end of the pitch, hopefully your luck changes there the longer the game goes on 0-0. But when you're conceding goals at the beginning of halves, or at the beginning of the game, or the beginning of the second half, it just makes your task that much more difficult. And you could see the confidence draining out of 1 or 2 players after that first goal went in. And maybe again that's a role to play in Leicester just not quite getting the rubble of green that they needed to get back on level terms.
Yeah, you think back to the Brighton home game, Ruud's second one in charge. Leicester were 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go. And they draw that game 2-2, thanks to 2 really late goals. And you didn't, I think you said it yourself, didn't you, when that first Fulham goal went in, you worried at that point.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that way.
No, you've got to show that fighting spirit. You've got to, that Foxes never quit saying, isn't it? And it didn't look like we're going to really score today and give them too many problems, really. I don't think the goalkeeper for Fulham's had a save to make, really, second half especially. And yeah, it's just slightly worrying that there are a lot of things that are not going in the right direction for the team. And all you've got to do is make sure you keep working hard, keep being into training and have that hunger, desire. And the biggest thing now is the players who are not in the team need to train like absolute demons this week to show the manager, right, I'm ready to play next weekend in the team, and that will be a big thing for Ruud to be looking at when he makes his selection for the team next week.
Yeah, huge week ahead of Spurs away, Matt.
Yeah, tricky one away, isn't it? And Spurs at home, a different proposition to away, aren't they? And we all know the abilities that Tottenham Hotspur possess on their day, but you can take some hope, maybe some encouragement for saying that, for knowing how up and down Spurs are. So they might give you opportunities at certain times, but all in all, it's not the ideal fixture that you'd be looking for at this moment in time. But there isn't an ideal fixture for Leicester at the moment, such as their predicament, unfortunately.
Well, big thank you to Jerry Taggart on co-commentary duty for us. Thanks to Mads Hermansen as well for coming on and joining us pre-match here in the studio. Thanks to Simon Grayson for coming in, to Matt as well, as ever, for your company. We'll be back again in just over a week's time. That Spurs game is on the Sunday, so do join us Sunday afternoon for that trip down to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Don't forget as well, there's a brand new podcast coming Monday morning. We'll get to that in just a moment, but we will say thank you and goodbye to everyone. Thank you to tuning in on what's been another really disappointing afternoon for the Foxes. As I said, don't forget though, Monday morning, a brand new podcast. Leicester's the Play Season 2 launches with Connor Cody. So a real chance to listen to someone from right inside the Leicester City dressing room. We'll leave you with that one. Goodbye.
To absolutely batter me. He's battered everybody. It just, you can imagine, can't you? No chance of my going back in there. I'll push and I push and I push, but receiving the armband for your country, like, the scaredness within this club is unbelievable. Are you passing the bucket yet?
No,
the bucket?
not for the first time.